Registrar of Political Parties denies media statements on Grand Chief. Grade 10 students unlawfully released after being arrested for robbery. And NMSA commissions coastal radio station for effective communication.
This is National MTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and thanks for joining me once again with Wednesday's news. Registrar of Political Parties Dr. Alphonse Gelu today clarified his stance on today's Post-Courier headline. He said the report on Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare is misleading and misquoting. The report concerns Sir Michael's eligibility to be a candidate for the Prime Minister's post. Dr. Gelu denied that he said anything on that matter.
The report says Dr. Alphonse Gelu told the newspaper that Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare is not eligible to be a candidate for the Prime Minister's post. However, Dr. Gelu denied that these did not come out from his mouth. He said the Registry of Political Parties have no say to who should become the Prime Minister, as they are an independent body under the Constitution. Dr. Gelu denied everything that was said in the paper.
From the outset, I would say that what appeared on the front page of the Post-Courier is from the Post-Courier itself and not from the registry or from myself.
Meanwhile, Dr. Gelu said the registry has not received any legal documents from National Alliance Party or from Grand Chief on his resignation from the party. He said the announcement was from the media and so the registry would continue to maintain that Sir Michael is a member of NA.
What I told the reporter was that currently Sir Michael Somare, according to our position, the registry said he is still a member of the National Alliance Party.
Dr. Gelu stated that the process for Sir Michael's switch would not be affected if he contests for the Prime Minister's post. This is because of a Supreme Court decision of 2010, which no longer binds MPs to their parties. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News.
Morobe Governor Kelly Naru says the careless driver who hit and killed 4 girls at Lay's Cassia Crescent must be punished. The driver who drove a local level government's vehicle hit 5 women and a baby at Lay's Cassia Crescent. 4 of the women died while the mother and baby survived. Governor Naru has issued directions to the provincial administration to terminate public servants found drinking under the influence of liquor.
Morobe Governor Kelly Naru says the driver responsible for the deaths of 4 girls must feel the full brunt of the law and there is no place for him in the public service. Whilst the provincial government will assist where it can during the family's time of mourning, Naru has issued stern instructions to the provincial administration to terminate public servants caught drink driving.
As I speak, the administrator has been directed, and administration and all line divisional managers have been directed that if we have drivers who are found to be drunk and driving using government vehicles, there is no room for them in the public service of Morobe. And for that matter, they should not hold public service position anywhere in the country.
A man driving a newly bought local level government vehicle meant for the Kabum district is understood to have been drunk and speeding. He hit 5 young women and killed 4 girls at Lay's Cassia Crescent. A mother and her baby survived. Police who inspected the car said there were signs of drink driving. Eyewitnesses said the car was speeding.
To police to ensure that the full force of the law is brought down on these culprits who have caused unnecessary loss of life through their careless behavior.
In a separate incident on Friday, a young man was killed after a local level government vehicle meant for Finchafen, driven by a man severely intoxicated, capsized in Chinatown. 4 other passengers survived. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lay.
The climate change issue must be given prominence in schools when it comes to teaching. Office of Climate Change and Development raised the alarm as an appeal for students to better understand climate change. This message was echoed at the relocation fundraising drive for a school affected by climate change in the autonomous region of Bougainville. MTV's Fabian Hakelitz reports.
Climate change is a global issue and Papua New Guinea is no exception to it. Office of Climate Change and Development has reminded schools and especially teachers to think of climate change in the lessons.
Climate change, something where I'm not counting you side or one mandate blow you or function blow you, but just come here. So time I'm coming, it's up to you, me gatalo, trying to work him out how best to resolve him.
The fundraising drive launched in Arawa aims to raise funds for St. Patrick Temporary Primary School's relocation exercise because of rising sea level threats. The drive was also to remind individuals and the government of its primary role to protect lives.
People are using media, people are using all contacts outside, long time, long promoting this project, na raising money. So from that perspective, we are confident that we can raise the money to help the school.
Bougainville has one of the first lot of climate change refugees, and the involvement of the EMTV Education Department and its agencies is important to discuss the way forward.
And also minimal some even future developments law establishing more schools inside of Bougainville, we must think ahead. You know, establishing more schools, areas where climate change and by affecting.
Meanwhile, a steering committee for this fundraising was formed comprising of stakeholders from National Airports Corporation, Office of Climate Change and Development, MTV, Taparoy Community, Autonomous Bougainville Government, Bougainville Education Department and the Catholic Diocese of Bougainville. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
Among more stories coming up after this break, the commission of a coastal radio station. Stay with us for that story and more. Good to have you back with National MTV News. The National Maritime Safety Authority is working on improving communication with vessels out at sea. Today, it commissioned its coastal radio station to ensure effective communication is maintained to minimize maritime incidents. The station is funded in partnership with Australian Aid at a cost of 8 million kina.
Development over the years since it was destroyed during the 1994 Rabaul volcanic eruption. The National Maritime Safety Authority has since taken over from Telecom to operate the coastal radio system. In August 2014, NMSA took steps to revive this service, which culminated with its commissioning today.
Okay, okay now.
The purpose of the coastal radio system is to facilitate effective communication with vessels out at sea and to ensure distress calls are monitored to minimize maritime accidents. Small craft operators are encouraged to utilize this service while at sea. They can access this service using a marine VHF radio through the distress and safety frequency channels 16 and 12. Small crafts are also advised to have an emergency position indicating radio beacon. The beacon, once activated by a distressed vessel, can be picked up by other vessels out at sea within a radius of 5 kilometers. The coverage of the coastal radio system is a work in progress, and NMSA hopes to have the coverage improved. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
The public service mechanism has been criticized as the main factor behind the lack of government services around the country. In its efforts to change that mentality, the Department of Personnel Management is running training courses in the provinces. Department Secretary John Cully says preparing public servants to be focused in their roles will minimize corruption.
It's becoming obvious that apart from elected leaders, public servants are always blamed for poor government service delivery in provinces around the country. All the blame has always been leveled to the backbone of the service delivery mechanism. In a 5-day workshop held recently in Kimbe, West New Britain, DPM Secretary John Cully said efforts are in place to revive and overhaul the public service.
Develop the capability of the public service workforce. And this, what we are doing is...
The workshop was aimed at breaking down the general orders policies with step-by-step instructions. Cully said the training is a way forward to change the mindset of public servants to focus more on performance and outcomes.
Leadership is about understanding and being confident and being competent with what you do.
West New Britain is the 5th province covered to undergo this training. Other provinces covered include West Sepik, Manus, Northern and Milne Bay. Others will be covered in due course. Jack Lapava Jr. National MTV News.
Former Public Enterprises Minister and Angaram MP Arthur Somare says the previous National Alliance-led government did not create any mess as claimed by the current administration. He brushed aside these claims, saying that the previous government's IPIC deal cannot be compared as being similar to the current government's UBS loan.
The fight over who is telling the truth in the current political debate over the controversial UBS loan saga is continuing. Today, former Public Enterprise Minister Arthur Somare spoke to the media, explaining and defending why the current government must not shift the blame to them. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the UBS loan of $1.2 billion obtained last year to buy a 10.1% stake in Oil Sets Limited, a leading oil exploration company in the country, was necessary to clean up what he described as mess left behind by the Somare government. But Arthur Somare says PM O'Neill must not use the exchangeable bond deal the Somare government entered into in 2009 with the International Petroleum Investment Company, or IPIC, of Abu Dhabi as an excuse.
I'm defending myself today, and I expect that because he said that we created the mess. I did not create a mess.
He says the IPIC transaction is completely different from the UBS loan. In 2009, the IPIC deal was signed to build the PNG LNG project. The deal involved the selling of the state's 196.6 million shares, which is equivalent to 17.6% in Oil Sets shares to IPIC. The money was used to pay for the state's equity in the PNG LNG project. Arthur says without the IPIC deal, the current government would not benefit from being an equity holder in the PNG LNG project. He says the UBS deal is not healthy because of the arrangements in which the financial returns from the LNG are allegedly locked up in accounts in Singapore. He challenged the Prime Minister to a debate where these issues can be addressed.
And no one's been telling the truth in relation to this issue.
Quinten Alomp, National MTV News.
And now let's take a look at the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.3470 in the interbank market today, and at Bank South Pacific, our Kina was trading at $0.3395 $0.4669 Australian dollars, $0.2947 euro, and 40.3 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close today, gold closed the day lower, while coffee, cocoa and copra closed the day higher. Palm oil closed the day higher as well, while crude oil and copper closed the day lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 50 points lower, the ASX closed at 67 points lower as well, and the All Ordinaries closed at 30 points higher. Well, National MTV News continues after this break. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill critical of Fairfax media reporting on PNG. Stay tuned for the details. Good to have you back with the news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has questioned this week's reporting by Fairfax journalist John Garnott. In a statement today, the Prime Minister said the style of reporting draws into question the credibility and balance of the Fairfax newsroom. O'Neill says such reporting will destabilise Papua New Guinea's politics.
Despite being away for an official trip in Japan, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill is irked by the report released by Fairfax Media earlier this week. O'Neill slammed the report, stating the report writer has connections to two former Prime Ministers, Sir Michael Somare and Sir Mekere Morata. The Prime Minister raised questions on the credibility and balance of the story. He says there are conflict of interest between Fairfax journalist John Garnott and political associates. Mr. O'Neill described the report as poor journalism with no checks and balances to the story. O'Neill challenged the two former Prime Ministers not to play politics but reflect on what they have done for the country or start planning for the 2017 general elections. Jack LaPava Jr., National MTV News.
A grade 10 student who, among accomplices, robbed a woman who had 4,000 kina in her bag has been unlawfully released by a constable without bail. The woman was travelling on a bus travelling to Sisiak area in Madang when she was robbed. The student was arrested and charged by a criminal investigation officer but was later released. Senior members of the police force were in a meeting today regarding this unlawful release of the student suspect.
After struggling for almost 2 minutes in the fight against robbers pulling on a bag and dragging her in the act, Julie Ariako was left with bruises, but because she struggled, the robbers made away with only 500 kina and her other personal belongings, not realizing that most of the money, totaling to 3,500 kina, was scattered on the ground.
Mitla pulling bag inside the bus, mitla struggle, mitla come down, put on one time, come outside the bus now. Even take him 2 minutes something long. Mitla struggle to pull him this la bag below me.
The suspect is a grade 10 student of Tuspab Secondary School who did the robbing on the weekend with his national exams this week and so was arrested straight after his exams on Monday.
Time examination finished as well. Student them kirap sana plok about them. Me go holim this la mangi so man blom me look save so la mangi me look save le mem kam holim me early mem tu na me plakis mem bolo. CID Bola 1 policeman always.
The victim's family was approached by relatives of the suspect 3 times while he was locked up.
Ol mangi ko laos bolo mi 3 time lo night. Ol ispak pinisikam na demand milong release him PF bolongol this la one talk bolongol. Ol itong Mary bolo mi lock him map. All right. Now in fact the only go long extend long offering me bribe. Only giving me long 500 kina, only offering me 3 time.
Apart from reliable sources, the student suspect's identity was revealed when he posted photos of himself on Facebook wearing the t-shirt he wore on the day of the robbery.
People go through the Facebook. Now people looking more pictures belong him come up with more. I'm spot wanting more friends belong him now.
The student was charged for stealing with violence and was not allowed bail, but was released from the Jomba cells the next day by a police constable.
Senior constable Kinapu want him knowledge belong PSC Neneo na cell guard all been released him this la victim na. We look this la obi book also him lomi or some him no been got bail too all just release him.
The reason for the student's release was because of his exams, but according to the officer in charge of criminal investigations, Stephen Yalamu, only the court has the authority to make that decision and not the police.
Suppose I'm a student, grade 10 exams Monday. Why on earth am I going to commit this crime? So, you know, let me allow him criminally goes now the exams. It's not a student anymore. It's a criminal.
The new provincial police commander has not taken office yet and no one is acting while this is going on, so the couple are seeking to bring the matter to the police commissioner's attention.
Because you know PBC, by me attaching copy belong complaint belong PBC, mean by right direct belong commissioner belong police, na me lodge him this complaint belong me.
Rachel Shise, National MTV News, Madang.
The Morabit provincial government has received a report on a 3-day workshop on antisocial behaviour and poor standards in schools. The report paves way for multi-level strategies to deal with ongoing school fights in Lae City. Morabit Governor Kelly Nara received the report today on behalf of the provincial government.
long prior long come up on the industrial document ibin got tupla private research been come up one plan former principal belong Bumayong Lutheran Secondary School and another plan now evangelism director belong Lutheran Church Reverend Rimas Bakung only been working tupla separate research long find out long ask belong this blackouts fighting amount belong of students. So with the background information from those research, we had consultations, we had forums, and gradually this year in August, we had a workshop to find out strategies that could bring the church and the government of Morobe to actually work together to find some lasting solution and bring back normalcy in our schools so that our students can continue to become good citizens in the future.
The Miss Pacific Islands pageant PNG today thanked the Lamana Group for its support of 15,000 kina. The pageant is a stage for young Pacific women to be cultural ambassadors for their country. It also raises funds for a scholarship fund which assists young girls complete their education at tertiary levels. In the last 4 years, the Miss Pacific Islands pageant PNG has raised over 400,000 kina for its scholarship, assisting 110 girls throughout PNG. This year's crowning ball will be on November 14, with the winner to represent PNG in Cook Islands in December this year. To regional news now, Vanuatu President Baldwin Lonsdale, after returning to Vanuatu yesterday, says the move by acting President Marcelino Pipite to pardon himself and 13 other MPs is unlawful. The pardons were made after Vanuatu's Supreme Court found all 14 MPs guilty of bribery. In a national address, President Lonsdale appeared emotional and expressed sorrow to the people of Vanuatu. Lonsdale has received legal advice about the pardons and he will decide on what to do in the coming days. But lawyers will need to work out whether the presidents can overrule decisions made by a deputy acting in their place. Well, National EMTV News continues with Trukai Sports. That's coming up next, and we'll have soccer and rugby league. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Thanks for joining me with Trukai Sports. The Fairfax Rugby League 9's tournament has seen the men's and women's games evenly contested. In the men's, Southern Blacks drew 10-all with Bang 36, while the women's Barbarians crushed Connor Storms 28 points to 4. MTV Shane Soroya has all the updates.
The Barbarians women's team crushed the Cornerstorms team made up of all Barbarians women's rugby union team, which is the national side. They were in great form and played an outstanding game yesterday to outrun Cornerstorms. Just within minutes from the kickoff in the first half, the Barbarians crossed over the line with the first points on the board. The Barbarians stick to their game plan and took control of the first half, with more ball possessions to post 14 points on the board, while Cornerstorms were yet to score going into the second half. It was team talk in the sheds that lifted the spirited Storms to keep their consistency play before sending Janet Stevens under the post for their first try. But it was the Barbarians who fought back hard to utilize their experienced players, in particularly the flanker, to score. Barbarians were soon to score next and extended the lead to a 28-point win over the spirited Cornerstorms, who trailed by 4. In the other women's match saw the Pom Dewey up against the NCD Suburban, who proven too strong, thumping Dewey 18 points to 4. Meanwhile, in the men's division, defending champions Southern Blacks had another tough game against the Bang 36. Strong defense from both sides, but it was the Southern Blacks who created numbers out wide, drawing the opponent's defense before floating the ball out wide and running through the gap to score. However, both teams drew a 10-all in the final huta. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
Well, Real Madrid forward Cristiano Ronaldo was awarded the Golden Shoe yesterday after topping Europe's goal-scoring chart, making him the first player to win the boot 4 times. The Portuguese superstar picked up the trophy for his 48 goals from 35 appearances for Real last season, edging out Barcelona's Lionel Messi. Ronaldo had previously won in 2008 while at Manchester United and in 2011 and 2014 with Real Madrid. Ronaldo became Real Madrid's top scorer in history in September, surpassing Raul Gonzalez with 324 goals, but he still wants more.
Always want more. I know I'm the only one who has 4 boots, but I want more. I want a 5th one and 6th one, if possible. Obviously, that means winning things collectively with the team, trophies, and for me, Real Madrid is the greatest club in the world, and it must win titles every year. This year will obviously be no different.
Well, True Guy Sports continues after these short messages. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports.
Good to have you back with True Guy Sports. Governor for NCD, Post Parker, believes sports can be used to boost tourism, not only for NCD but for Papua New Guinea. This follows the successful delivery of the 2015 Pacific Games. He announced that Port Moresby will host the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in 2016, and recently the announcement again that Port Moresby will co-host the upcoming Rugby League World Cup. MTV's Dion Komeng reports.
With the city of Port Moresby set to host major international sporting events, this can be used as an opportunity to boost tourism in the country. With the prices of commodities fluctuating, rather than relying on natural resources, sport can be a contributing factor to the economy.
We need to broaden our economic base. Right now it's too dependent only on hydrocarbon and minerals, and when the price goes down like now, it affects the economy. So we've got to broaden the economic base of our country. We've got to build an economy that can sustain our growing population. And
with the limelight in the region on PNG following the Pacific Games, the recent announcement of PNG to be a co-host for the Rugby League World Cup is a step in the right direction to elevate sport in the country.
I want to thank the Prime Minister for supporting our bid. On our part, NCDC, we put our hands up because I want the spotlight to continue to come to Port Moresby and Papua New Guinea. Of course, it is to support Rugby League and develop it to the highest level, but at the same time is to promote our city, our country, our culture, our way of life, especially as a destiny for investment and destiny for business, destiny for tourism.
With the current world-class sporting facilities available and with the construction of the National Football Stadium, Port Moresby is right on track to become the sporting hub of the region. Dion Kombang, National, MTV Sports.
Well, New Zealand will represent Oceania at next year's FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Port Moresby after easily cruising through the qualifying tournament in Tonga. The junior football Ferns will be a part of a small piece of history, with the tournament to be the first FIFA women's event to feature 2 Oceania nations. PNG is taking part as the host country.
New Zealand was dominant during the 10-day tournament in Tonga, trashing and humiliating the other teams. The first match was against Tonga, beating them 15-0, which set the standard early in the competition. They then pounded New Caledonia 26-0. Following that, they continued to crush the others, demeaning Vanuatu 18-0 and then beating Samoa 10-0. New Zealand successfully qualified last week on the 8th of October to head into the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup here in PNG. PNG have long been New Zealand's main challengers in the Oceania region, and the Kiwis profited hugely from their absence in the qualifying tournament. Elijah Levet, National, MTV Sports.
The PNG Under-19 Garamuts will kickstart their competition against Nepal in Kuala Lumpur tomorrow. They have trained hard for the tournament despite the limited availability of training equipment. They have also spent the last few days in Singapore having friendly matches and ending up with mixed results. Coach Deepak Patel said they're learning a lot and continue to improve as cricketers. A former NRL superstar, now NFL convert, Jared Hayne, was caught up in a website scam this week which suggested he used steroids to excel in American football. The scam claims trainers call this new supplement stack nature's steroid alternatives, which let you build muscles while you burn fat. The piece is accompanied by a photo of a shirtless Hayne and before and after shots of Australian actor Chris Hemsworth. Despite the wild claims, it bears similarity to another scam of All Black star and former NFL and NRL enforcer Sonny Bill Williams earlier this year. Well, that's how we wrap up True Guy Sports tonight. Stay tuned. We have your weather details. That's coming up next.
True Guy Sports.
Let's take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In southern region, mostly fine and dry expected in the nation's capital. Fine and dry expected in Daru and Kerema. Brief showers expected in Alatau and Popondetta. In Momase, brief showers expected in Lake City. Madang and Wewak to look forward to some light showers, mostly fine in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands, all centres to look forward to light showers. In the Highlands region, all centres mostly cloudy weather. Now let's take a look at forecasts for small ships, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters and islands of Papua New Guinea except for waters of Wewak to Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border. Looking at waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait, Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, Yule Island to Hood Point to Samarai Island, seas of 2 meters to 3 meters, waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters, waters of Samarai Island to Cape Bogle through to Finschhafen, seas of 2 meters to 3 meters, waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait to Long Island, including Siasi Islands to Dampier Strait, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters, waters of Madang through to Bogia, Wewak, including all the islands, seas of 0.6 meters to 1.5 meters, waters of Aitape through to Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters, waters of Manus and Western New Britain and its western group of islands, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters, and lastly waters of New Ireland to East New Britain, then to Bougainville, seas of 2 meters to 2.5 meters. And now let's take a look at ocean forecasts for PNG areas, Coral and Solomon Seas. Seas rough, rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots with gusts reaching to 34 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots with gusts. And lastly, Pacific Ocean, seas moderate to rather rough with southeast winds at 15 to 25 knots. And now let's take a recap of our main stories again tonight before we go. Registrar of political parties deny media statements on Grand Chief. Also, grade 10 students unlawfully released after being arrested for robbery. And NMSA commissions radio station for effective communication. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather for this Wednesday evening. From the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi Jr. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay happy. Good night.